Welcome, painters. I have got a great one for you this time. I'll be demonstrating how to paint this lovely lazy brook. Hope you enjoy it. I'm going to be using this rubber cement to preserve some of the trees that will be illuminated by the light coming in from the right side of the scene. This is a handy trick. It'll allow you to paint freely and not have to worry about accidentally covering up the areas that you want to leave bright. And it's not much of a mess to clean up either. The tool I'm using to apply the rubber cement is called the Incredible Nib, but you can probably just use the back of a pencil or something too. I also decided to preserve some little rocks in the water as well. They're going to add a nice little shine effect because the water will be on the darker side. All right, let's paint. I like to use a little spray bottle to get the paint nice and wet. First, some clean water. We're going to be painting this wet and wet technique, so applying clean water first will allow the paint to diffuse as opposed to having hard edges in the sky. Using a little cobalt blue here and cerulean blue, and being careful to go around the one tree that I forgot to apply the rubber cement on. A little burnt sienna and raw sienna here. I'm going to paint the background where the light is hitting the tops of the trees in the distance. And now a little hooker's green as well. It's always good to vary the color when painting a section. That way the painting looks a little bit more interesting than just having everything kind of one tone, one color. Now this tree here can cause problems because it can act as a divider between the two sides. So I want to make sure that whatever color I'm using on one side is also on the other side of the tree. Painting the foreground now, once again varying the colors slightly. Some earthy tones there between the green and the greens and the browns. And this is late fall here in New York State, so there's definitely going to be more browns than greens this time of year. So when painting trees in a distance, the bottom of the section is usually much darker because the light doesn't typically penetrate that far down. Using some water here to diffuse the color so that we're not left with hard edges. Time to finally paint the brook now. First putting in some raw sienna and hooker's green to reflect some of the color from the trees but most of the water is going to be blue, reflecting the sky up above. And I am painting this using a wet and wet technique. I did wet the paper before. I'm applying the color so that the paint bleeds a little more to give it a more of a watery effect. This section here is kind of a gravelly bottom of the brook here on the left. Doesn't seem to be catching much light, so we're just going to paint that a little darker. And once that's done, we're pretty much laid out for the initial wash, and then we'll go ahead and start adding in some details. If you want to warm up the painting a little burnt sienna is always a great way to do that. Usually it's quite dark where the land meets the water, so just using some ultramarine blue and some burnt umber to create these highlights. So at this stage of the painting, I'm just pushing the contrast between light and dark to make the painting start to appear three-dimensional. Painting in the late fall foliage up at the top of the trees here, using some burnt sienna and some alizarin crimson. These are the crinkly old leaves that are either going to cling to the tree through winter or fall off any day now. To avoid having the water look too flat in the painting, I'm adding some more layers of variation. Maybe a shadow across the brook or maybe some ripples. And now we'll start to add some texture to the trees so they don't look too flat and white. Also, what will really help this painting is when I start to put down some of the shadows coming down the bank from the trees. Here I'm putting in the reflection from the tree that's leaning left a little. So the reflection has to follow exactly what's up above, so it's leaning left, and then the reflection is also leaning a bit left. And in no way is this a political statement. Okay, time to remove the rubber cement. There is a tool to do this, but sometimes it just using your hand is fine too. It's more satisfying actually. So the trees here, they're not birch. I mean, they could be, but in this case, they're not, and they're just catching a lot of light. So we'll probably use some raw sienna on the trunks to lighten them up. We're not going to leave them this white though in this painting. And right now I'm just using a rigger brush to just paint the dark side of the tree, which is the left side, since the sun is coming in from the right. Now it's finally starting to look like something. Now, so that it doesn't look too much like a savanna, I'm putting in a bunch of little saplings to make it look more like a woodland. Another thing that makes a huge difference is putting in the darks on the shadow side of the rocks. It really makes everything start to look 3D. And you can see that the issue is that even when you put the darks in, they dry lighter. So you gotta just keep coming back and putting them back in. Oh, that's my cat. Until the colors are dark enough to create a contrast. All right, so here what's left is just to put some texture into the bark of the trees, add some more accents where it's needed, and I don't know, might have to stop pretty soon. Well, I think that's going to wrap it up. Thank you for watching.